So I think we're ready to get started. Today, as you saw in the email that went out about the mystic's journey, the mystic's path, look, we've been deep diving into heartfulness and meditation and all of these things for probably over a year and a half now, most of us together, which has been great. So there's this thing we now call heartfulness, which has had various names in the past. Okay, it's been around for a while. Is a very deep science. And if we look at it on the surface, it offers something that's very, very simple and very easy to understand, that everybody on the planet can benefit from doing it, and anyone can do it. It's so simple. And it's free. So in that respect, this thing we call heartfulness, which is more than just a practice of meditation, it's kind of almost like a way of life, a way of thinking, is something that everybody can do. Okay. So that's one level on the surface of it. But if you really get into it from a deeper perspective, and I know, look, as Quarans, people who are reading Quora, all right, we're deep seekers, all right? There's no question about this. So if I'm going to give an example. So if... let me do one thing first. Mute everybody. Here we go. So I'm going to give an example. So if I thought of this the other day, if we took all of the literature of what we know as heartfulness, and let's just say, and I'm going to round it way down just to get the point across. Let's just say that all of the literature of heartfulness was 10,000 pages. Okay. If you look at it and look at the beginner books, the entry-level books, particularly the ones that Daji has written, that might equal 1,000 pages. The other 9,000 pages are extremely deep esoteric teaching. And a bulk of that, the biggest bulk of it, surprising, and nobody really knows this, but because it's just... You have to dig a little to find it, but the bulk of that is something called Whispers from the Brighter World. And they are a series of books that were released starting in the early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken. And what they are is they're intercommunications between the spiritual guides on a dimension that's beyond this dimension. And they're written down through a medium who lived in France, and her name was Helene. And she was receiving messages from Babaji first, who's one of the Heartfulness guides. And she started writing them, and then she started sending them to the living guide at the time, who was Babaji's representative or successor. His name was Parthasarathi, who I spent many decades with, every year spent with him. And so the story goes, I'll make it brief, the story goes that he was receiving these writings from this woman, Helene, and he didn't believe it. He didn't believe that they were actual messages from the masters. So what had transpired is that it took 4 years before he had his own sort of awakening to this fact that this indeed was Babaji and Lalaji and spiritual guides, and many other spiritual guides were actually giving this information. And this, just to give you an idea, and I'm going to read some of this next, but just to give you an idea, I want to hold up and show you the first book that was released, which everybody was kind of in shock. We didn't even know about any of this, and all of a sudden Chariji releases this book. This is the first volume. Okay, it's Whisper. You can't see it very well. It's beautifully bound in leather. I mean, it's just a beautiful book, Whispers of the Brighter World. And it's each of these books, there's I think 6 now, are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of intercommunication. When I say intercommunication, I'm talking about communication that is through through consciousness and not written communication. So there are thousands of pages. It represents the bulk of our literature. So I think one of the reasons we don't see it so much out in the public eye is that not many people are accepting of something like that or ready for something like that. And I haven't talked about it to anybody of you who have been attending these sessions for the past year and a half or so. I haven't even brought it up to you yet until today. And so today's the day. So it's very exciting. It's very profound. It's very eye-opening. It's a little alarming sometimes. But I want to start off by reading what Chariji wrote in the introduction to the release of this book. And this is there's several pages of it, but this is just a snippet. And I thank my wife for preparing this and getting this together for me. So Chariji said, "I assure the reader that I too have been very skeptical about the possibility of communicating with worlds other than our own. But there have been far too many hidden nuances in the messages from my master," he's referring to Babaji, "to permit me to remain a skeptic. I must confess to an occasional doubt even now, but such doubts are fleeting and leave me in peace almost the very instant they appear. There is no shame in sincere doubt, which my master said should not be called doubt, but as inquiry." That makes a lot of sense. "But to remain a skeptic and an unbeliever, even after receiving ample inner verification about the veracity of these messages, that would indeed be a shame and a tragedy. My invitation to the reader is to set aside all preconceived notions and prejudices and read what follows, and then judge with the heart, for the heart is par excellence the instrument for verification of the truth." Okay. Now, I'm going to also show you, at my wife's recommendation, in one of the things that this medium received was something called an esoteric symbol, which is also very unusual and unique in this heartfulness practice. I mean, we were all shocked to see this, but it has a deep meaning, and I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to hold it up and show it to you. Hopefully you can see this. It's a little hard to see. Maybe I will try it. I will post this in a next email, but it's a heart, and there's a star, and there's a center within the star, and there are these beams of light shining out. And what Babaji explains about this is something that we've been talking about. Remember, I've been talking about the vacuum. And what he says is, in this symbol, it denotes that the vacuum in the heart of the cell is like a well of light where thousands of stars are reflected. All right, so within this picture of a heart is the physical heart. It represents the spiritual heart, and it represents the center or central region, as we've often talked about. Core of divine energy. In physics, the core is the central part of an atom made up of protons and neutrons. There is a vacuum in its center, known for centuries by mystics and finally detected by scientists who haven't really identified it yet. So the mystics have known about, they've been talking about atoms for thousands of years, and everybody's like, oh, like it's something new discovered in the 40s or whatever it was, 30s. If you read the mystical literature, these spiritual masters have been talking about atoms and particles and forces, primal forces of nature for thousands of years. It's all written about in great detail. So I'm going to read one of these messages to start off, and this is just a light message. Easy reading. This is from Saturday, June 9th, 2001 at 8 a.m. And Helene is now giving a message from Babaji, who says, As you can see, your channeling abilities are intact. On this, there is nothing to fear. Our contacts can continue. With time, we lead you to a broader open-mindedness, allowing you to seize what is hidden under some of our comments that may seem innocuous. The truth is not so straightforwardly obvious. A regular reading of these messages makes you grasp things that were not obvious before. In this area, knowledge deepens gradually. The intellect is excluded from this principle. You must conduct this reading in a special and meditative state of mind. Wisdom is infused in you slowly. It does not spring up in you with the suddenness of a flash of lightning. Your heart receives the divine seed, which evolves gradually thereafter. This detailed explanation is meant to make you understand that a hasty reading of these messages cannot provide you with the quintessence of these writings and of our literature in general. Nothing about spiritual development is that simple. One has to deserve it and earn it through a brave struggle. Disassociate this work from your daily life. Reserve it for a special place and try to approach it in a spirit of surrender and humility, leaving aside for some time your usual criteria of judgments. You will advance in comprehension and the way of knowledge will widen before you. Babaji. So that's Babaji's message to Helene. So, Chariji explains that this mode of intercommunication has been around for thousands of years, and that people who are spiritually advanced, that they can communicate like this as effortlessly as all of us can communicate with each other via Zoom. So, they don't need to pay for Zoom every month. They got a much higher frequency of connection that is great. So through these messages, a lot of things are revealed. Again, we're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of pages. A lot of things are revealed about the current times, things that we're going through, and a lot of things are revealed about what's coming. So I'd like to read a couple of other messages that are eye-opening, and these are all from Babaji. But sometimes she receives messages also from Lalaji, and she's received messages from Christ and from other spiritual guides we don't even know about, actually. So this message was from October 9th, 2004 at 10 a.m. The communion of souls having the same spiritual identity contributes to the elevation of humanity. This is the case with our way, and that is the reason for its existence. A movement like ours plays its role in the transformation of the world. Its expansion has no other goal than this. Divine laws manifest in many ways. We are an example of that. On earth, all is put into place slowly, according to the movement of this planet and its vibratory level, which regulates all aspects of life. For the most part, the worlds have their completely different characteristics, hence the difficulty for earthlings in identifying life beyond their own sphere. Their knowledge is limited to this one. They are not privileged in the current state of evolution to determine the plurality of the worlds and what characterizes them. All of creation makes light of the limited knowledge of human beings. This creation holds great surprises for them. In future times, the face of the world will have completely changed for the good of all, and by extension, for all those who are currently suffering from the folly of humans, which endangers a whole balance necessary to life. Let me read that one again all the way through. This creation holds great surprises for them, meaning we humans. In future times, the face of the world will have completely changed for the good of all, and by extension, for all those who are currently suffering from the folly of humans, which endangers a whole balance necessary to life. The movement is irreversible. Nothing will stop this frantic process of polluting and destroying here below. A process taking place on the pretext of modernizing and large-scale production. Sooner or later, errors must be paid for. This civilization is going too far in terms of excess. A brutal break will be put on this destructive system. This is in the order of things. Babaji. So this is one of many warnings which are plain for us all to see. I mean, it's nothing mysterious. Of course, this is back even in 2004, before things have gotten into full swing. The masters have been watching this for a long time and commenting on it for a long time. And now, if any of you following what's happening with AI and all of the heated debates all over YouTube around the world about the what it means, how fast it's coming upon us, and the legalities and everything else associated with it, it's no wonder that we're at a point now in our evolutionary cycle where we're going to see so much change so fast that most of the world will not really be able to understand and process what's going on with technology. And it's going to be both potentially beautiful and potentially horrifying. Because we humans do tend to take things such as, nuclear energy and first build a bomb and then decide, we can power the planet with this too? What an idea. But first we build a bomb. That's the way human beings are. So that's the sad state of affairs of the world. All right, so I'd like to read another one, keeping in mind the time here. So there's two more. Okay. This is from December 2nd, 2015 at 10 a.m. This is written by Helene, and this is a message from Babaji. See all these beautiful testimonies that are being sent to you, to Helene, regarding the messages. These messages help so many of our brothers and sisters who are attentive to what emanates from our hearts. These writings touch their hearts much more than they can imagine. Why would they have been given, and for so long, if they did not operate beyond human perception in accordance with our wishes and for good reason? We want to help the greatest number of people overcome the barrier of limitations in today's world, a world that is excessively subjected to all sorts of disturbances. Electromagnetic pollution is worrying. Who cares about it these days? The ease of work provided by these devices is such that a majority of people use them, creating disturbances that are not taken into consideration. Time will bring to light this important aspect of the current situation. We had to draw the attention of our aspirants to this issue, although our action lies elsewhere on planes of consciousness far beyond the material. Yet all is connected. The balance of energy in humans is crucial for their attainment of higher levels of consciousness. We talk about this. One day, harmony will have to reign on earth. Today's reality is, unfortunately, far from this pacifying aspect. In the future, major changes will come, cleansing the entire situation in this world. Why not imagine a better world in which all human beings can blossom at all levels? Positive action is never in vain. Something always comes of it. Endless blessings to all. Babaji. Wow. So there's a, let me find it. So if you're interested and would like to explore these, the way to do it, and I'm looking for it. If I don't have it here, I'm going to put it in the next email that I send out. All right, I will find it. And maybe if anyone is on here, maybe Rob, if you know where the link is, if you're able to put it in the chat, the link to the Whispers. So what has happened is, after Chariji released these books, it was no longer in print. This would be the only set that would ever be available. This is what he said. So there's no copies of this that anyone can ever buy again. There were, I think, 5,000 or something, or 10,000. That's it. And so they're all around the world, and many volumes of these. But what Chariji did, and Daji continues to do, is to make all of these available free online. And you can sign up for them, Whispers of the Brighter World. In fact, you can just I'll just put that in the chat. Oh, there we go. Karen, thank you very much, Karen. So Karen has posted the link in the chat that you can click on or copy. And this will take you to a whisper a day. You'll get one whisper a day in your email that you can read, which is a great way to do it, because it can be overwhelming to attempt to read page after page of this. In fact, Chariji recommends just taking one up a day and reading it after your meditation and sort of trying to feel the meaning of it. So I invite those of you who have an interest in these things, you can explore that a little bit further and you might find it very interesting. And just to sum up, and then we're going to meditate together now, okay? So just to sum up, and I've written about this on Quora many, many times, about this idea of artificial intelligence. If these master spiritual guides, these elevated beings, have the capacity to communicate with each other effortlessly across dimensions and to us, all right? Why are human beings so obsessed with developing an artificial intelligence that's smarter than them? Shouldn't we really be focusing on our own intelligence? If we have the potential for all of this, our inner potential is the thing we should not neglect. That's the direction we need humanity to start going in. And there's nothing wrong with technology. I love it. I use it all the time. I absolutely love it. Nothing wrong in it. But if we're smart enough to create an intelligence that's smarter than ourselves, we shouldn't forget who is making that AI. We are. And so therefore, the focus really should be on, if we're capable of doing that, what more are we capable of? We now have tools that we're starting to understand, ways to evolve our consciousness. And in the future, this is my own belief, so it's my own ideas. In the future, we will all communicate like this. And a high level of purity will have to be attained to do that. But in the future, and I'm talking probably not, maybe not in our lifetime, but we'll not only be able to communicate like that, but likely we will be able to travel with our subtle body any place. And if you read Autobiography of a Yogi, you know that all of these spiritual masters have that capability. They can just travel wherever they want and have meetings. Meet here and there. It's quite amazing. And not only that, but we will probably not be dependent on material food. And in the Whispers, what it talks about is that in the future, just like human beings have evolved over the many millennia into, many different variations, the Whispers talk a lot about a grand mutation that is going to happen for the human species. And we will evolve into a new type of species that will be much more suited and able to use these higher capacities. But I can assure you that, it shouldn't prevent us from thinking about these things, pondering these things, and seeing how in our own life these things start to develop for us in a way of being more sensitive, in the way of being more intuitive. All of this is something we can notice. All right. And with that, dear friends, let's meditate together for the next 25 minutes. If you're here for the first time, this meditation is so simple, everybody can do it. We simply rest on the heart, area of the heart, with the idea that there's a softness there, a divine light in the heart. And we just rest on that. And I'll guide us into that. And then we'll stay in silence for about 20 minutes. And when the meditation concludes, you're going to clearly hear me say that's all. And we'll come out of the meditation. So please sit comfortably and close your eyes.